All right, guys, welcome back for a new video today on the channel. And as requested, I've seen that the expenses tracker app really came through and you really enjoyed it. So today we are making the second part of this app that you can see on the screen, where we are going to try to make it dynamic. So I'm going to use Firebase as always, because that's the thing I use. We're going to do some more project using, for example, Hive or like local databases. But when it comes to like cloud services, I'm really a big fan of Firebase. So there is no need to go fancy right here. So we're gonna jump straight into it, really. So if you didn't see the first part of this video, I recommend you go see that one first, because you will be able to have what I have running on the screen, which is this app right there with this list view here, another screen where we have integrated some sort of a Flutter chart using a very cool package. So that's very nice. And yeah, today we're gonna make it all dynamic. So we're going to change a few things in our code base that we have right there. So the first thing we're going to have to do is to create this screen for adding a new expense, right? Once we create that screen, we're going to start by doing that, and then we're going to move to the more back-end type of logic, where we're going to create, I think, basically two classes. I think we're going to create a category class and an expense class. Those two are pretty much going to be linked together, but you'll see how we do that in Firebase and how we deal with it then in the app itself. And yeah, then I think we're gonna be able to have something that works pretty good. So let's start straight up. So first thing first, we're gonna create that screen when we click on this button right there. So how are we gonna do that? So basically it's going to be under lib screens. And here we're gonna create a new folder, and we're gonna call add expense. All right. And as you can see, we're going to follow the same logic that we've followed previously on the structure of our files. So we're going to have a new folder called views and another one called blocks. And under views, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call that file add expense add expense.dart. And within this file, I'm going to create for now a stateless widget that I'm going to call add expense and replace the placeholder with a scaffold. All right. So I'm going to go save that up. And now I can navigate to the home folder views. And I think it's main screen. Yes, it's this one. So it's, if we scroll down, no, it's going to be home screen. Sorry. And here we normally, yes, we have our floating action button right there. And on the onPress method, we're going to call navigator dot push. So the push method takes the context and a route, right? And as you can see, the type of route, it's a material route that we're going to use. So this one, all right, this type of stuff. Because we don't have a router in our app for now. Perhaps we can have one later, but that's really just very straightforward. And instead of my page, I'm gonna call add expense, and I'm gonna save that. And normally now when I click on the button, perfect, I'm well directed to the add expense screen, so you don't see a thing right now. But if we navigate to the add expense screen, and just for the sake of it, we add an app bar just for now, you see on the screen, I've saved that, and we can navigate back and forth between those screens. So that's good, that's working. Side note, I am not going to create the whole authentication methods and all that. If you want to have multiple users, you can do that on your own based on all of the other tutorials that I've got on the channel. It's going to be very repetitive. Otherwise, if I, for each project, create the authentication system, perhaps I can add it later on. But for now, we're just going to focus as if there is only for one user. So with that thing done, we're going to create the screen then. So the add expense screen. So I have the little design on my right here. So it's going to be, you're going to see me looking here. but it's basically the design that we've saw on the first part, but that's very all right. So first things first, I'm gonna create in the app bar, I'm gonna change the background color and I'm gonna set that to theme.offcontext.colorscheme.background, all right? And that's simply for me to be able to access, comment that, to access the color that we've defined within the app_view.dart file. Remember, in the first part of the tutorial, we added some colors there, so we can directly change them here in the app_view.dart file, and they will change throughout the entire app. So I'm going to say that and that as well for the scaffold. And now what I want to do is access the body parameter of the scaffold. So here I want to add some sort of a column, and the column takes some children. So for that, now we're gonna have a text widget first, and this text widget is gonna be like add expenses. All right. Here I'm gonna say cross-axis alignment dot center, and it doesn't do a thing. That's very normal for now, but because we're gonna have other, because here is like the size of the bot that we have is only based on the text widget size, so it's not going to be centered because it doesn't has a size. But you have two options here. Either you wrap your column with a widget that has a width, that is the entire screen, or you just wait until you have other widget within your column that are going to take the width of the screen anyway, and so like this you save yourself a widget. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to have some style to the text, and here I'm going to say text style, and here perhaps font size is going to be something like 22. Yeah. And I'm going to add font weight. That's going to be something like, yeah, 500. Yeah, 500. That looks fine. All right. I am just going to wrap my column with some padding. All right. And not 8, but I'm going to put 16 or something like this. Right. That's cool. So let's add some constant keyword, and now let's move on to the next one. So here I want to have under the text widget, I'm gonna have some sort of the design is cool, so it's gonna be some sort of a text. So yeah, it's gonna be some sort of text form field I want to do. Text form field, right? So something like that. Yeah, all right. Okay. Text form field, just under that. Here we have a text form field. Okay, so we want to be able to kind of customize this one. And remember, in the first video, we've as well created my, I think it's here, right? In components. Oh no, we didn't do that. So no, that's fine. So we're just gonna use the text form field right here. I'm going to customize the aspect of it a bit later. Now I just want to lay out everything that I need. So I need another one, and I need another one. Yes. So something like this. All right. So I'm going to have some separation between those things. So I'm going to have a size box of perhaps 16. So we stay consistent. Yeah, we'll see how that looks later on up. All right, and at the end of it, I want to have some sort of a button, right? So I'm gonna have a text button that I'm probably gonna have to wrap into, it into a size box in order for it to be expanded to the size of the screen. All right, and the child of this text button is gonna be a text widget, and the text is going to be something like save. All right, okay. So let's now create something that is a little bit more user-friendly, let's say. But before we do that, I want to show you something here. You see, you can select your text fields right there once you click on it. But if you click outside of everything, what you would expect normally is to unselect, right, the text fields. And so, how you could do that is just wrap your scaffold with a gesture detector widget, and access the untap method. And in here, you are gonna be calling the focus scope dot of context dot unfocus. All right, save that up. And now if I focus the text and I click outside within the scaffold anywhere, because I've wrapped my entire scaffold with it, right? So now I can unfocus every time that I'm clicking outside of the text field. So that's pretty nice. Let's add some constant keyword everywhere. And now let's customize a little bit more our fields. So in the text form field, gonna access the decoration parameter, and I think it's an input decoration that's coming. Yep, that's that. And what we want to have is perhaps border, input border. No, we're gonna do rounded rectangle border. That I know it's outlined. For this, it's outline input border, right? So that's that. Yep. Okay, that's something like this. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna add the size box as well here, so we have a little bit more space. All right. And what I want to do here is access the border radius. Yes, border radius dot circular, and let's say, so that's for, yeah, so that's for the expense itself. So I want something that is gonna be a bit more round than that, so we have a difference between the others. So that's that. Okay, cool. And perhaps I want to access the leading I think it's outside the the decoration. So I think lead prefix icon it would be called, right? Prefix or suffix icon. Let me check. Huh? Yeah, prefix icon. That's that. So here I'm gonna say Cupertino, or no, because we have our we've imported the package already. That's pretty cool with cool icons. So I'm gonna use that one. I just have to remember what it's called, and I think we are using it. Where are we using it? Perhaps here. Yes, it's this one. The FA icon. So that's from the Flutter Awesome Flutter font Awesome Flutter. Sorry. So let me just copy that thing right there. So we have that, and I'm just gonna paste that here and import the package itself. And here it's not going to be back shopping, it's going to be dollar sign, yeah. And for now I'm just going to get rid of the color. Okay. Yes, so we definitely need to center that thing better, and to do some customization with our text field right here. But other than that, I think it's pretty cool, yeah. 23, and we're gonna have $23 or something. So perhaps we can access the size. So let's say 20. Yeah, that doesn't move a thing. So I'm gonna have to look up how I'm gonna center that thing as well, because I don't remember. But I'm gonna look it up now, and I'm gonna come back to you in just a second. All right, so the thing I found was interesting. It's because of the here we have our icon that is to the left there, and we don't want that. We actually want it centered, right? And the only way you can fix it is by simply using the icon widget instead of the FA icon. Don't ask me why. Perhaps it's in the text form field or text field parameters that doesn't work. But yeah, so here we'll be able to enter our expenses. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Perhaps we want something in terms of design here to be a bit different. So I'm gonna wrap my text form field with a sized box, and I'm gonna set the width to the media query dot of context dot size dot width times 0.8. Yeah, 0.7 even. So it's a little bit smaller than the other fields that we have down there. Okay, cool. So now as well, one thing is perhaps if we access the icons dot dollar instead of our package dot money perhaps. Let's see, do they have a dollar sign? Cupertino icons dot, sorry, dot dollar. I need to import that first. Dot dollar, money dollar. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but that doesn't change color. It's a little bit, and let's just test with that thing. Would it change color? No, it wouldn't change color. So okay, so we can just go back to the way it was and just leave it at that. All right, let me go back. Okay, 0.7 here. So now what we want to do is perhaps access the size of the dollar because it's a little bit big. So size, let's say 16. How's that? That's better. That's better, yes. And okay, I want to as well access the color. So the background color of the text field, I don't remember where it is. Let me check it out. I'll be back. Okay, so a few things that needs to be added now. So it's going to be first inside the input decoration parameter, the field parameter needs to be set to true. The field color needs to be set to white. So that is going to have an impact on the background color of our text field, right? And then the last thing that I want to do is say that the border side is going to be set to none. So we only have no border, but only some sort of a field like this that we can access like that. And I think it looks pretty cool. I think it looks nice. So I want to lastly access the $ color parameter and set that thing to something that's going to be close to the background that we have, right? Even perhaps the background colors. So I'm just going to take that and see how that looks. Perhaps we need something a little bit more deep. Yeah, we need something a little bit more deep. So perhaps I'm going to say colors.gray. Yeah, that looks cool. That looks cool. All right, so we can just save that up. And here is where we're going to have, where the user is going to be able to enter the different expenses that he has. All right, okay. So now we need two more fields. One field is going to be for the category and another field is going to be for the date, okay? So what we can do in order to keep some sort of consistency is copy the text form field that we've just created and paste it right here, right? And see what we have. So we have something like that. So that's pretty nice. And we're going to have to change a few things in order for it to be okay. So instead of here having the $, what do they have? A category? I don't know, a list perhaps. Let's say, yeah, okay, that could work. And what I want to do is have a label parameter that's going to be a text widget, and the text is going to be category. Okay, cool. And here you see with the label, what's cool is when you select it, it moves up, all right? And for those two fields, I don't want a border radius so aggressive. I want something that's even smoother than that. Yeah, something like this, yeah. Something like that. And here you have two options. You either go for the label stuff, or you can also go for the hint text as well. And the hint text is straight up a string, no need for a widget. And basically it's only gonna disappear, right? So we can just go for the hint text. That's better looking right there. So that's for our category, okay? And the last field that we need, that's going to be a little bit different as well. So we just do the same, copy the text form field, paste it down here. So we have that now. And here, instead of the category, we're going to have date. Okay, we're going to change our icon as well to something like timeline. What is that? No, a clock perhaps. Yeah, clock. Okay, good. Yeah, clock works. And so that's the baseline. The thing with this text form field here is you do not want to input a string, right? We want to have a calendar that shows up, okay? So what's cool is you have normally an onTap parameter, you do, in the text form field. And here I want to say that when I untap, so when I tap it, I want to show date picker, okay? and it takes a few parameters. So that comes stock with Flutter. All right, guys. So you can straight up use that out of the box like this. So the first date is going to be date time. All right. So we're going to say date time dot now to set the first date to today, and the last date we can set that to date time dot now, and I think we can add some duration to that thing. Yeah. Extra long duration, long. We can add duration here and say year. Access the duration, access the days, and say 365. But I don't think yeah, it's needed. So now let's see if we untap on that. Yeah, we have our date time picker that shows up, a date picker, sorry, that shows up, and we can select a date, and that's pretty cool. So now I don't know why when we click on it, we don't have that. Perhaps it's the focus date that needs to be updated or something like this. Let me see, initial date. Perhaps it's the initial date that we need as well as a parameter. So if we set initial date dot date time dot now, and we click on it, yes, okay, so that was that. And yeah, so that's pretty cool. So we have a date time picker that's right here. And the thing is, you see, we need to actually access a parameter within our text form field, because here, even if I can only click, you can see that when I go back, it doesn't unfocus it and I can still write stuff there, but I don't want ever the user to write things here, all right? So what I can do is access the read-only parameter and set that to true, okay? So now, even if I'm trying to click on it, I'm never going to have a keyboard show up and the user is never going to be able to input anything, okay? I'm only able to input stuff right there, okay? So what we want to do now is just customize the save button, and then we're going to deal with the rest of it, like make it a little bit more dynamic, right? The only thing I want to do is add here like 32. Yeah, so we have a little bit more separation between those two things, and perhaps as well here. That was fine like this. Okay, good. So now scroll down, text button. So text button, we want to access the style parameter, and perhaps say text button dot style from, and here we're gonna access the background color of it and set that to I don't know, colors dot black or something like this. Okay, I'm gonna wrap my button with a sized box, and I'm gonna set that the width is double dot infinity, so it takes the full width, right? And I'm gonna set the height to something like this, yeah. Cat toolbar height, so it's a little bit more dynamic, okay? So on the style as well, I want to say that the shape is gonna be rounded rectangle borders, and the border radius for that thing is gonna be border radius dot circular, and I'm gonna get the same that I have up, which is 12. And add some styling to the text. So style, text style, and here I'm gonna say, so the font size is gonna be something like 22. Yeah, okay. Font, the color is gonna be colors dot white. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. I think that's good. Okay, we can just leave it at that, and perhaps increase the padding that we have. Yeah, I like it. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but that does the job very well. All right, so now there are a few things that we need to change right now. So we're gonna have two things. So first, I'm gonna change my stateless widget to a stateful widget. And here, I'm gonna create a text editing controller, and that's gonna be, so I'm gonna create 3 of them, all right? So I'm gonna create 3. So the first one is gonna be expense controller, all right? And I'm gonna set that to text editing controller. So I'm just going to copy that and duplicate it. Oh, sorry, duplicate it 2 times. And the second one is going to be category controller, and the third one is going to be date controller. Okay, and so I'm going to add those controllers to our text form fields. So under the controller parameter of each form, of each field, sorry. So here it's going to be expense controller for the first one. For the second one, it's going to be a category controller. And for the third one is going to be, well, sorry, controller. It's going to be date controller. I'm going to save that. And what I'm going to do is set the date controller. So inside the init state, what I want to do here is by default have the date populated, right, with now. Okay, so what I want to do is here say that the date controller dot text is equal to datetime dot now. But like you can see now, well, that's a problem because the datetime is not a string, and the text parameter from the controller is a string, right? So it expects a string. But here we have a datetime, and you could say, right, so let's just say toString, right? But here that would be terrible because if I go back and go back in again, well, you see, I mean, that works pretty good, but I mean, you can't understand really what's happening. So here we're gonna need to import a cool package that's called, so let's navigate to pub.dev. I think it's called like this. Oops. Yes, this package, Intel, I don't know how you call that, ENTL, I don't know, but that one will allow us to, I think that's that one, yes, with that format. We're going to use that format, and then we're going to be able to modify our date time. So within the prospect, under FL chart, I'm going to import that one, and back to add expense dart. Here I'm going to use, so then date format. So date format, importing the package dot parse, and here I'm going to put up date format dot parse. Let me check the package dot format, sorry, format, and that takes a date time, yes, like this. All right, so if I save that, here you'll see I have something that's a little bit more understandable, right? But it's still not something that we want to have, right? Because you can access actually the format within here, and there is a lot of different stuff that you can do, and there are some already pre-made stuff, right? But as you can see here, you can do some sort of a string in order for you to have a full detail of what's happening. Okay, so I'm gonna say like day, all right, slash month slash year, all right? And if I just do something like this, you'd see that it's not going to work because it's case sensitive, right? So today we're the 30th of January 2024, and the month is actually capital letters, right? So if I go back and go back in again, now it works, the 30th of January 2024, all right? And if I want to have the full day, the full year, I'm gonna have to put 4y, and that's gonna be like this. And I think that's pretty cool, okay? So now what we want to do is when we click on this and select the 31st, for example, is set that thing to be the 31st as well, right? So I'm just gonna copy that, and we're gonna navigate all the way down to our show date picker, right? And you'd see that our show date picker, the return type of it is a future, of course, because we have an action that's popping on the string, so it's waiting for the return of that thing. And then it would be a date time that could be null, because you could simply just go there and click cancel, or go there and click outside, which then has a return that's null, right? But here what we can do is say date time, potentially null, right? New date is equal to await that thing. And because we are using await, we need to make the ontap method asynchronous, okay? So if I save that and click here, select the 31st, nothing happens, right? But that's okay, because under the show date picker now, what I want to do is say if the new date is different than null, all right? I want to set state, what we said earlier, date controller.text, but instead of formatting the datetime.now, I want to format the new date and save that. And you can see now, so if I go to the 31st and click on OK, it changed that, all right? And if I'm here and I unselect that, it's just gonna go away, okay? And one thing you could see is the selected here is the 31st, right? But when I click on it, it's goes back to the 30s. It's because we have the initial date that I've set to the datetime.now, all right? And we perhaps don't want it to be set to the datetime.now if we already have a selected date, right? So perhaps what we can do is have another parameter that could be a date time, okay? Sorry, a date time. Select date, okay? And by default, we're gonna set that to datetime.now, okay? So that works. But what we want to do then is scroll down to our show date picker, and here instead of initial date datetime.now we have selected date, okay? But now in our set state, what we want to do is the selected date is equal to the new date, okay? And now you can see that if I'm going here again, go back in, it's the 30s, and that's the 30s that is in the initial date. I'm setting it to the 31st. I click on OK. I go back in. The initial date is the 31st now, but you still have this 30 that is a little bit different UI because it's today. So you want to know what's there. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. So that works, okay? That works, that's nice. Now the other stuff that we need to create is for the category, because for the category, it's gonna be a little bit different, because we want, if we look at our UI, our different categories, well, they like an expenses is gonna be linked to a category, okay? And a category, it has a name, okay? But it also has a little icon, also has a little color, all right? And basically, you can have multiple expenses for one category, right? So you could say food, you have, let's say, 3 expenses for food, and you can have then a total of all the expenses that you would have under a specific category, okay? And so we need to actually create a category if we want, but we also want to be able to here have some sort of a drop down button, okay, that will allow us to pre-select a category if we don't want to create one. Yeah, makes sense? So here we're never gonna really have to type anything, okay, because it's gonna act as a different thing. So what I want to do here in our text form field, okay, is add a suffix icon. So I'm going to copy the prefix icon, but access the suffix icon. And here you'd see it's going to appear right there. Okay. So it's not going to be list. It's going to be something like add is away plus. Yeah, okay, something like this. Plus circle plus. No, just a plus. Okay, yeah. So what I want to do is be able to click on that thing. All right. So perhaps instead of the icon here, I perhaps want to say you have 2 options. Either you go for an icon button, or you wrap that with some sort of a inkwell or a gesture detector as you want. Let's look at the icon button. All right. So you would have an icon parameter, and then you'd have an icon widget. And you need the onPress method. And that's not constant. If you save that, you can see now that's a button. So that's the straightforward way to do that. So we're just gonna go and roll with it. Okay. Tac. Okay, good. So this plus button is specifically designed for you to be able to create a new category if you don't have inside the list the appropriate category, right? Or as we're now, have no category whatsoever, okay? So the thing is, this text form field is gonna be as well on a read-only basis, right? Because you don't want the user to be able to input anything. So when I try to click on it now, nothing happens, okay? But I can have an on-tap parameter, okay, here, and perhaps what I want to do is when I tap on that thing, there is some sort of a drop down that comes up, and we have some sort of a list view that scroll down all of our pre-existing categories, okay? So that's what we want to do. But first, before we can display that, so create the UI, we want to be able to create one category, okay? So when I click on the button, what I want to have is some sort of a dialog window here for me to be able to create that thing. So suffix icon here, and on press, I'm gonna say show dialog, all right? That takes the context and the builder, okay? And here the builder is gonna be, so context, that needs to be something different in order for you to understand who's popping what. And here I want to return alert dialog, because that's a cool widget to do that, all right? And I'm just gonna save that. So if you see, if I click on it, there is the background that's blurred and nothing is happening now, but you'll see that if I access the content parameter of that thing and I set that to a column for now and save that, you can see that I have now a big dialog window that I can work on and put some fields in order for us to create the category, okay? So that's what we're gonna do now. So a category, as I said, we can just look here, but I'm looking as well on the design, but that's the same that we have here, has a name, has an icon, a color, and has a total expenses field, okay? So we're gonna create the class in just a second, but for now, we're gonna create those fields right here, okay? So in order to do that, I'm just gonna copy what we had here, our text form field, okay? Well, let's copy that one. It doesn't really matter. I'm not gonna use all the fields, obviously. So a few things that we need to delete. So first is the controller not the right one. The untap method can go away, and I'm just gonna save that up. So we have here one field that's gonna be perhaps for, so what I said, so name, icon, and color. Okay, so name, so name is gonna be the first one, in text name, okay. If you save that, that's because when you save it, you don't feel the hot reload because it's a different context. So you have to pop back in and pop back again, okay? Perhaps the prefix icon, nobody cares. Nobody definitely cares. So we are gonna have, so the name, as I said, we're gonna have as well, so the color and the icon. So 3 fields, right? 3 fields. That needs separations, otherwise that's terrible. So we're gonna have the height perhaps of 16 for the separation of those things, that and that. Yep, okay. So name, icon, and color. So here it's a little bit of let's say first, let's see the column main axis size dot minimum, so we don't have a big thing like this. So it's going to be like that. All right. So the name straightforward, right? Name very straightforward. Sorry, read only true. That's not the case for this, and I'm just going to comment that and that for those things because they're kind of the truth. So the name straightforward, you put the name, so it's going to be like food or something like this, right? Straightforward. Food, okay. For the icon, that's a little bit different because you want to have some sort of an icon banks, right? On which the user can select the right icon. Same for the color, right? So we are going to try to do that, okay? But before we do that, at the very top of our column, I am going to create first a separation and a text widget that's going to be create a category. Okay, save that thing. And you see it's there, but because we're using alert dialog and we're within the content, I can also access the title parameter, okay? That takes a widget, and I can just take my text widget here, and I can just paste it there, and you'll see, up, it's gonna be straight up a text title there. So I can as well utilize the stuff that the widgets I'm using and directly use those things. Create a category, and you can change the style of it if you want to change the style of it. But that we don't care about that now. What we care about is being able to have an icon and the colors. So for the color, I'm thinking we can have pop some sort of a palette, right? A color palette where the user can select the color. So I think there is a package that does that. So I'm not really worried about that. The icon is a little bit more tricky, right? Because we don't have some sort of a bank of icons where we can display those things there, right? It's more on demand once we create them with the text. So I'm gonna think a little bit about how I'm going to do that, and I'll be back in just a second. Okay, so I've been a little bit looking around what could we do, and basically you have some API that you can connect yourself to and get a list of icons, but that's a little bit complex for what I want to do for this video. So I went ahead and created a few icons that we will use. You see like a little burger icon, shopping bag icon, some tickets icon for a plane, a pet, a house, and a phone. And I think that'll cover most of the categories that we will use within this video. And you can either try to, let's say, connect yourself to APIs to have a full list of icons and really leave the user plenty of choices. You can increment this list that we'll have into our app with your custom icon as well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and rename those. I'm gonna rename that one food, this one shopping, this one entertainment. There is no E, entertainment. Here I'm gonna call that one tech. This one I'm gonna call that one home, pet, and travel. And basically what I'm going to do is within our app right here, I'm going to create a new folder that I'm going to call assets. And within this folder, I'm going to take all of those icons and I'm just going to put them right here under assets. Okay. And so our icons, they're right here now. So what I want to do now in order to be able to access them is in our perspective.yaml file here, I want to access assets and say that it's gonna be assets / and just like this, and save that file. And now I think I'm gonna have to close my app and rebuild it in order for us to be able to see those files as expected assets to be list book assets / string. What's going on? Asset / and you're expecting a list. Let me check that out. Yep, I know what's going on. It's here. I forgot the dash before the assets. That's why it was not working good. So now I can rebuild my app, no worries. And while that's rebuilding, remember we were on the add expense, and we were working with the show dialog right here, create a category, okay? And we are now here in our text form field icon, okay? So now what I want to do is, the thing is, you don't want to stack up too many things within your app, right? So here we have our created category, we have all the screens with all the forms, and when we click on category, we are popping. So here we have the screen with all the forms. When we click on the plus, we have already one pop-up, and once we click on that thing, we are going to have another pop-up as well, and I don't want to have that because that's going to be too many pop-ups, right? So perhaps what we want to do here is say that when we click on this, there is some sort of a container that expands under it, which is scrollable, and that is going to be yeah, just there while we are doing that thing. So first things first, perhaps we can access the in all of our forms here within this create category, say that it is dense. So that's going to take less vertical space, right? So I'm just going to add that to all three of them. You can see here it's less big. Okay, so now here I'm just thinking about the best way that we can do that, and I think that's the thing I want to do, because you could have another pop-up, but that would be perhaps a little bit too much. So what I want to do is say that here our text form field is going to be on a read-only basis as well, right? So you won't be able to write anything here. You see, I'm trying to click, nothing happens. But I want to say that I'm going to have a suffix icon here that's going to be icon Cupertino icons dot chevron down. So that will let the user know that, well, you can click on that thing and something's gonna happen, right? So let's perhaps put the size to 12 or something like this, so it's a little bit, yeah, okay, cool. So okay, save that up. So now what I want to do is when we click on that thing, it actually opens up a menu right under it. Okay, so in order to do that, we're gonna have here under a text field, let's say for now a container that's gonna have a width of double the infinity for now, and a height that's gonna be, let's say, 200. Okay, and we're gonna say that the color of this thing for now is gonna be red. It's just for us to understand what's going on. Okay, so when I do that, I see that I have my container that's right under my icon text form field. Okay, and that's pretty cool, because now within that field we can have a list view with all of the icons. Okay, and the user can select one and scroll through it in order for him to find the thing that fits its needs. Okay, so a few things that we want to do in order to make it a little bit more seamless, right, is access within our container the decoration parameter, and it's going to be a box decoration. Okay, so you have to move the color parameter inside the decoration, otherwise it's going to break everything. And we're going to put that to white. We're going to say that the border radius of that thing is going to be border radius.circular.12, and let's see how that looks. So that looks a little bit more, that looks a little bit better, right? But you see here, I don't like this kind of thing. So what you want to do is not say border circular, it's going to be that, but you can say border radius here, and what doesn't have a name constructor, border radius dot vertical, and then access the bottom parameter and say that it's a radius.12. Okay, if I save that normally, yeah, you'd see that we have only borders right here and we don't have borders there at the very top, but we have border just up there, right? So we need to do the same thing for our text field right here. So we have border radius right here, but what we want to do is say that it's actually dot top here, and save that part. And now you see it's like a seamless integration. It's just a big field, right? So that's pretty cool. So now what we want to do is by default having that thing unexpanded, right? and when we click on the field, it expands, okay? So for that, we're gonna scroll up, and here you see we're staying under the show dialog, okay? But under the builder, okay, under the builder, I'm gonna create a boolean that's gonna say expanded, and I'm gonna set that to false by default, okay? And I'm gonna say here on the icon method, right there on the text form field, I'm gonna access the ontap parameter, ontap, and I'm gonna set state, and I'm gonna say isExpanded is equal to the reverse of isExpanded. And now you'll see what? You'll see that, oh yeah, sorry. So we still have the thing that is expanded, but because we need what? We need to say here within our container that if the expanded is true, okay, so if is expanded, then we show the container that we just created, right? Otherwise, we show just an empty container and we just leave it at that. So just container like this and just leave it at that. So now if I go there, you'd see that I have my field that is right here. And if I click on it, normally that would set state my thing, okay? But the problem is set state here is setting up the state in our context, okay? And within our show dialog, it's not the same context that we have. So you can tell yourself, right, so we're just gonna call context right here, and that should be that, right? Well, it doesn't work, and it doesn't work because it's a new context that we have right here. And the only way that we can do something like that is by wrapping everything with a stateful builder, I think, and I think it's here, stateful builder, and I think it has the builder parameter. So it takes the context, yeah, context. It takes required widget function builder. So it takes only a builder, apparently. It has a context and a set state, okay? And here we're gonna return our alert dialog, and at the very bottom here have that thing first, okay? Okay, and let's see if that works. Let me clean that up a little bit. Okay, and I'm gonna save it. And now, yeah, now it's working because we've wrapped our thing within a stateful builder, all right? And you can see that it expands good. So a thing that you could say here to keep consistency is you don't have the border radius here, because that's what we said, okay, on the border of our text form field for our icon. We have our border right here, but for the border radius it's on top, right? But what you could say is definitely that, let me just clean that up a little bit. Okay, what you could say is the same here that we did here. We can say for the border radius, well, if it's expanded, okay, so if that's true, then indeed I want the, oh sorry, where was I? I was here. Sorry. So if it's expanded, then we have the border radius that we've created on the screen, because that's what we want, right? But if it's not expanded as it is now, I just want border radius dot circular, border radius dot circular, it's here, and set that to 12, okay? And invalid constant value, it's because I must have a constant somewhere, okay? And here it needs needs that. What does it need? This perhaps? Yes, sorry, my bad. We can add some constant keywords, okay, and I save that. So what I say in the border radius, if I say, well, if it's expanded, then I want only the border to be at, is it right, what I've created? Oh, it's the reverse. No, it's good. So if it's expanded, I only want the borders to be at the top, because I want that to be seamless, okay? And if it's not expanded, I want border everywhere. And that's what we have here, okay? Pretty cool. So now that we have that, we can display a list, okay? A scrollable list of all of the little icons that I've just created that are here on the left, okay? So to do that, we have our container here that has a height that is predefined, okay? And I'm gonna access the child parameter of this one, okay, child. And here I'm gonna say list view dot builder, and you'd see why. And here I'm gonna have an item builder, okay, that takes a context as well as an integer for the index that we're in, okay. And I'm also going to access the item count parameter, but this is where it gets interesting. I know that I have those images that I've created myself. Those are the icons that I want to be using in the app, okay? So what I'm going to do is at the very top here, I'm going to create a list of list of string for now. That's going to be my icons, my categories icons, okay? And I'm gonna set that to a list, okay? And here what I want to do is get the name of each icon that I have, okay? Remember guys, I'm always figuring things out as we go together. I have no idea if it's the right approach. Perhaps I would change my mind later on, but for now it's what I think is the easiest for us in order to have something cool to display. So I'm just getting the names that we have and travel. Okay, so that's the list of icons that we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, good. And they're the same names, right? So now what I can do is navigate back to our expanded container, okay? Set that the item count is equal to my category icons.length because we've created a list, okay? And here, perhaps I can just do container return container, okay? And just for the sake of it, I'm just gonna do a decoration that's gonna be box decoration, and I'm gonna access images. I mean the image parameter, decoration image, and say that image is equal to asset image, and the asset name is gonna be asset slash up my category icons dot I, and I'm going to wrap that thing with this in order to escape it, okay, dot pnj, because they're all pnj, okay. If I save that, something has happened. Width we're gonna say 50, and height we're gonna say 50. So we have an exception that popped up. Let me check this out. Box constraint. All right, so perhaps we'll fix that thing with the constraint that we just put. So let's see. Needs a layout. All right. Let me scroll up to the beginning of the error. So calculating would require instant every child for the viewport. Okay. Then let's say media query of context size width for the width, if that's the problem. I suppose that is not going to be the only problem. It was the only problem. It's because, you know, when you use double infinity, sometimes it's just going to tell you like, right, I need to calculate it. So intrinsic height, that's what he said. But by fixing something, a size that is bigger anyway than what you'd want, because, you know, the media query of context size width is really the entire width of the screen, okay? And here our box itself is less than that. So I mean, that's very all right. And we can scroll through that in order to have all of our icons. So we've created a list view, but perhaps here we'd prefer a grid view. grid, I don't see what I am typing, grid view dot builder, and the grid view just takes a grid delegate, and here sleeve a grid with fixed crossed icon. Yeah, okay, and we're gonna set the cross axis eye count to perhaps 3. Let me see. Yeah, that looks all right. That looks okay. And then the user can select one of those icons, and if he re-clicks like this, yeah, everything expands and everything expands down. Okay. One thing that I don't really like is I like the fact that this is expanded to the maximum capacity of it all, you know, but when you scroll that down, you have some sort of a feeling that everything crops back in again. So if perhaps we wrap, let's try that. If we wrap our first text form field with a size box, I'm just going to experiment with you guys now. Width, and we set that to media query.ofcontext.size.width. Save that up. Yeah. Okay, well, that's all you need. And you could perhaps put the size box with this width to each text form field, but the thing is they're all going to expand to the maximum capacity of it all, right? So either you do that, you wrap one of your text form field with that, or you simply wrap your column, okay, here with the size box and this width, okay? And I can remove this size box from here. I'm going to save that, and the result is going to be the exact same, okay? So that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. And now you have a list of a few different icons for your category. One thing that we could do, right, that we should do, is actually display, when you click on it, some sort of a, you know, border to say, well, that's the one that you've selected, right? So here inside our grid view, okay, within our container, we have decoration, a parameter, and we can access the border of it, okay, and say that it's, for instance, border.all, all right? And if you go back in and go back up again, you see you have border for everything, okay? So perhaps what we want to do here inside our grid delegate is say that the main axis spacing is perhaps 5, and the cross-axis spacing is 5 as well. So we have some sort of a recess, of a spacing, of a padding between everything. That's pretty cool. What you want to do is perhaps access the border radius of this border, okay? So border radius, let's say border radius.circular, and let's keep it at 12 so we have something that is consistent, okay? Yeah, cool. And perhaps we want to as well have some padding here on the sides. So you want to wrap your grid view here with some padding, and let's see 8 what that does. Yeah, that looks all right. That looks all right. Yeah, that looks cool. And so now once we click on it, we want to be able to detect the icon that was selected, right? So in order to do that, we want to access the border color parameter, okay? And we are going to do something here where we have, so for now, we're just going to scroll a bit to the very top and create a new parameter, which is going to be a string, right? And that's going to be icon selected. And by default, it's just going to be that, all right? So there is no icon selected. Scroll back down to our grid view, okay, to where we were. And we can say if icon selected, which is a string, is equal to my category icons to the specific item, okay? Then I want to color colors.green, okay? Otherwise, I want colors.gray, okay? Means that it's not selected. I'm gonna save that up. And normally if we come back here and come back here, we only have gray borders, and that's fine. Now when I click on one icon, I want to be able to see the difference within the border, okay? And so I'm going to wrap my container with a new widget that's going to be a gesture detector here, and access the onTap parameter and create a set state, okay? And here I'm going to say that selected no, but not selected date, icon, sorry, icon selected is equal to my category and the right indexed. Okay, gonna save that up, and once I click on it, you see that the border changes with the color of the border changes, right? That's pretty cool. And perhaps you also want to have a thicker border, right? The width. See here, if I say width of 3 and I go back in again, it's thicker, right? So perhaps I want to do that as well, so we have a little bit more vision of what's going on, okay? And you can scroll through that and select the one that is the most relevant for you, okay? And with that done, we can go now with the color, which is the last challenge for this category thing. And then once that's done, we are able to create a category. So we'll create the class and we'll send that to Firebase, right? So now the color, little coffee break, is for the palette. So let me see how I can do that. I'll be back. Okay, I found this package, which looks like has a good popularity. I mean, you have a lot of different color picker apparently. So we're just gonna try and use that one. So I'm gonna import the package in our perspective YAML file, save it, and let's see how that works. I've never used it, so that's gonna be a first for me. So let's navigate to our text form field that has our color, okay, right there. And we're gonna put it in read-only as well. And so you see here, I can't do anything with it anymore. So let's tackle the ontap parameter and let's see how that works. So we have color picker here that will do something like this apparently. So let's see, example. How would that thing work? Floating action button, the extended, okay, on press, okay, we don't care. Let's try something like this. Perhaps we have show. No, because that would be something like that, right? No, that's not what they're doing. Let me see how they do that. Color picker. It's a widget in itself, right? So we can't really, we have to redirect to a new screen. Then if we are to use something like that, let me see. Color picker. I'm gonna import the library. Let's say colors.blue. On color change. So for now, we're just gonna put that as an empty method. So nothing is gonna happen if I do that here. Yeah, of course. But what I want to do is perhaps, yeah, you see, perhaps we want to do the same kind of logic as we did here, with something that pops down, and we have here our color picker, or we pop something new, or we pop the bottom navigation, the bottom dialog. What do you think? Well, we're not live, so you can't really help me out here. I'm gonna try to figure out what best. Perhaps here we're just gonna have to show another dialogue. Perhaps that's the most relevant thing to do. And I'm gonna just return within our builder our color picker, right? Let's just see how that looks. So if I click on it, oh wow, he's not happy about that. Ah yeah, needs some sort of a material thing to stick to it. Single child scroll view, yeah, okay. Single child scroll view because it's big. That's what's happening. Is that what's happening? Yeah, no, it needs a container in some sort of yeah, it needs some height and width, right? No material found. Okay, but he's doing that, right? In a show dialog, but he's wrapping it with an alert dialog. Okay, alert dialog. And he's accessing the content parameter, I suppose. Something like this. Let me check. Yes, within the content parameter. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay. And you can normally, yeah, you can switch that around. That looks cool. That looks very cool. And we can have a OK button that will pop that thing. I think that's the way to go, right? Yeah, well, let's do that. So we're going to definitely use that on color change. But what we want to do is wrap that thing within a column. Yes. Say that the main axis dot size is equal to main axis dot min, right? So if I pop that and pop back in, I need to pop to two things. Yeah, okay. And now I want to say that I want to have a big button that says OK. Yeah, let's do that. So under the color picker, I'm gonna do sized box with a double dot infinity. I'm gonna say height of 50, and child, it's gonna be text button. Okay, so that's gonna be the same button that we have behind. So I'm just gonna scroll that down a little bit and get the text button that we've already created, because I don't want to do it again. And I'm just going to paste it here. Okay. Okay, let's save that. Go back and go back in again. Color. Yeah, okay, cool. Save. And here, what we want to do is click on it and say navigator dot pop, and here you're gonna see pop context right there. Let's see. If we navigate here, and we click on save, that's gonna pop the right thing. But here our context, it's called context 2, right? So even if I say that, which would be normally what you want to do, is actually the right way to go, because you're popping the right context, right? So that's what we want to do. Okay. So we're going to change that around, and when we save that, it's going to return. Okay, we want to be able to say that the color that we've chose is the one that is displayed here. So on color change, we have that. Okay, value, and this is a color. Okay, so what we can do is say that on change. So we can scroll to the very top here, and we have our string icon selected, and perhaps we're gonna have now our category color that we say for now is late. Okay, so we don't have to instantiate it right now, and we can scroll back down to where we were and say that, and here is the same. We're going to do set state, you see, but it's not going to work. That is going to be, no, not that. Category color is equal to value. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Okay, so let's see that. Okay, tag. And perhaps here I want to on save pop, and I want to print category color. Let's see that. Okay, so I'm choosing a color. I'm gonna do red. Save. Yeah, worked, because okay, that's cool. That's pretty cool. And so now I want to perhaps display the chosen color. All right. So how we can do that? By perhaps having the entire stuff become the color that you chose. I think it's relevant. Okay, so our text form field is here, and we have the field color that is white, and we can say perhaps if category color otherwise white. Is that going to work? Yeah, it does. But this is by default then the color that you chose already, and it's not cleared. Okay. Yeah, I know why. I know why. Because we've defined those things here in the top level of our widget, right? So if I take them and I define them in the same level as is expanded, normally, because, yeah, it's not happy with me. Okay, normally now if I go here, category colors has not been initialized. But we can say that the default color is white, huh? Where is it? Yeah, colors.white. Yeah, we can do something like this and say that it's simply category color. Yeah, that will save us that will save us the trouble. So now let's go back here. So now if I select a color that is, for instance, red, okay, and I pop back and pop back in again, yes, that's a way, because it's not on the top level widget, right? Because otherwise the information is conserved, right? It's preserved throughout the popping back and stuff because it's within this level there. But I just want it to be here, and then we're gonna populate, once we click on OK, the category object, all right? So that's what we want. And perhaps we want as well to display the icon that was selected here. So let's say, so we have that, so that would be done. And then here, yeah, I mean, we can just late it like this because, you know, it's expanded, so you'd see what you have. So, and then you could have like here, create food and put some sort of a cool color there, and your category would be done. So now we only need to add a button, and we will create this category. So under our color text form field, I want to take, well, I'm going to take the same button again. And you see, that's what I was talking to you about earlier on in previous videos, is since you're going to reuse a lot of those things, you know, a lot of buttons and stuff, and they're all going to look the same, you're better off having, you know, like a common widget, like a common button, and that you can just call within one line throughout your entire app, and that will save you the duplication of the code every time, right? So I'm just going to take the size box again and put it here as well, so we have some separation between those two things. Yeah, save. And once you click on save, we will create the actual category object right here. Okay, so we can say food, sorry, food, get the icon, so we're selecting that icon, and the color for the food is going to be something like this, right, that we can move around. Save that, and we have our color that's right here. And once we click on save, we'll populate the object and pop. Okay, so here, so create category object and, sorry, and pop. So for now we can just pop because we are going to create the classes, but otherwise we'll do that a little bit later. So we are here, up, category, name food, icon, I'm going to take that one, and the color this one. Didn't move. Yeah, because the default, if you don't move it here, let's navigate a little bit up to our color picker, because we are setting our category color to yeah, we're setting our category color only if you move one node somewhere, right? So what we want to do perhaps is to set it here to the one that is there. Okay, so once we're here, we can inside the builder, but we can't access it within the builder because you see, if here I'm doing a set state, it's going to be called during the build, and that's not allowed, because here I could say, right, so category color is equal to colors.blue. Okay, colors.blue. All right, and just save that. Okay, but here you'd see that up, I have an exception because I'm calling set state while this thing is building. So that's not something that you want to happen, right? And you could say, right, so I don't need the set state, and I can just do that, and we call category colors straight there, right? And you'd see we can go back in again, category, call color here, and just save that, and nothing happened, right? Because our color is not set to blue, because what we set to be is to be white, okay? So the most intelligent thing to be doing here is just to do that, okay? To just remove that thing, and because by default is white, you want it to be white as well here, and then you can let the user move around and choose what he wants, okay? But for now, I think that's the most logical thing to do, okay? So that's what we are rolling with that now. Okay, so let me think about the next steps. All right, time to get back at it. Sorry, I mean, for you it was nothing, but for me I had my lunch break. So let's create now the backend for creating a category. So as we've done for each project now, you start to know the drill. If you're familiar to what we are doing, we're gonna create a folder that's called packages. All right, and under this folder, we're gonna create a new folder that we are gonna call, let's call it expense repository. Expense repository. All right. And under this repository, we're going to create a new file, and that's going to be a spec.yaml file, exactly the same kind of file that you will see here, right? But the thing is, by creating a repository like this, I'm going to tell it again, it allows us to really have a separation between the backend logic and the front-end logic, all right? So inside this spec.yaml file that's right here, we have nothing for now, but for sure, the stuff that we want to do is, perhaps I'm going to copy the user repository that we've done in previous video, and the name is going to be here expense repository, that the repository that handles expenses. We don't need this package for now. We don't need Firebase storage neither, and path neither. So those, and the erics.dart we don't need neither, so I can comment that. So I'm just going to save that file. And by saving that file, it's going to do a pub get, all right? And so that's going to generate all of those files. Don't worry, it's totally normal. And under the expense repository, now I'm going to create a new folder that I will call lib. And under this folder, a few things are going to happen. So new folder, I'm going to create a folder that's called source. And under the lib folder again, I'm going to create a file that I'm going to call expense repository.dart. I'm going to create another, let me check my architecture. So that, and under source now, I'm going to create two folders, one that I'm going to call models, one that I am going to call entities, models, entities, and I am going to create two other files, one that's going to be called expense, yes, I'm going to call expense, repo.dart, and another one that I am going to call expense Firebase expense repo.dart. Okay. And now under models, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call that file category.dart, and another file that I'm going to call models.dart. So that's really architecture that we're doing here, right? So I see a lot of comments like, talk to us about the architecture that you're using. Well, that's really the architecture that I am using. So under entities, creating an entity.dart, entities.dart file. That's going to be for exportation. And I'm going to create another file. Perhaps I'm going to make that a little bit bigger so you can see me best. Another file that I'm going to call category entity.dart. Okay, and now that we are doing it under models, I'm going to create another file that I'm going to call expense.dart, and under entity I'm going to create expense underscore entity.dart. Okay, and that's all of the files that we will, all of the files and folders that we will need for our logic. So we have the category that we've created right here, right? So we are gonna create that class, and the expense is all this. Okay, so let's first create our category class. Okay, so under category.dart class category. And what are the parameters of our category? Well, we said it earlier, so we're gonna have first a string that we're gonna call category ID. Okay, then we have another string that's gonna be the name of the category. Then we have let's say an integer that's gonna be the total expenses. Okay, that's you'd see why that one is important. And we have then a string that's gonna be our icon. And that's a string because remember we're using icons from our asset folder, and a color, but that's gonna be we're gonna see for the color, but for now I'm gonna put string, but let's see if we need to do something a little bit different to store the actual color that the user input. So now you know how it goes. So we are creating the constructor of the category class right there. Okay, just like this, just like that. Whoa. Why he's not happy about that? Yeah, I know why. My bad. I don't know how to write a class anymore, perhaps. Okay. Yeah, and I need to say that those things are required. Sorry. After the lunch break, I need to get back in my head within the code required. All right, now that works. So we have a few methods that we are gonna need for the category. So these are the to entity and from entity methods. So if I take what I've done previously on other project for a user, for example, I'm just gonna paste that here. But instead of having the my user and my user entity, we're gonna have category and category entity. So I'm just gonna replace that. So here my user is gonna be category and not my user entity, but it's going to be category entity, and here as well. Okay, pretty good. So we didn't created the category entity class yet. We're just going to do that in a few minutes. But for now, the fields here, they're not right. So we have to make sure that they are. So let me just replace all of those fields with the one that we've just created. Okay. That, and doing the same under here for the from entity method. All right. And so basically the to entity is going to transform a category object into a category entity object, and the category entity is going to be sent to Firebase, and the from entity transform a category entity object to a category object that we can use within our app. Very straightforward. If you don't understand, I have created other videos, very straightforward for you to start building your own apps. So now we create an empty method. Empty is equal to category. Okay, tag, just like that. And that's basically for initializing our class to nothing, to an empty object. Let's say 0. Icon is a string, so we can just put an empty string like this. And just like that, we have our class done. So now we are going to create our category entity class. So I'm just going to copy that thing so I don't have to rewrite it. So category entity, okay? So here it's not category, it's category entity. Paste that right there. And here we have then two methods that are going to be a bit different because it's the to document and from document methods. So same, I'm just going to copy from previous, that's from the pizza app that I've done on the channel already. But we need to replace those things with the right parameters. So the to document basically takes a category entity object, right, and transforms it into a map. And why are we doing this, you might ask? But because Firebase only understands maps. It doesn't understand objects, so you need, every time that you want to send something, to transform it into a map. And once you get it from Firebase, it's going to send you a map, but you want to transform it not into my user entity, but into a category entity in our case. So that's what we are doing here, and that's the only reason we have our category entity class. You could do your from entity and from to document and from document straight within your category .dart, your category class. It's only for me, I really prefer to have it separated like this. It's more clear. So if it's more clear, it doesn't take very long to do. So yeah, see, it's already done. So now the thing I want to do is within the entities.dart, I'm going to export a category entity.dart, and while I'm at it, I'm going to export expense entity as well. I'm going to do the same in models.dart. I'm going to export category.dart, and I'm going to export as well expense.dart since I'm at it. And now within the category.dart, I can import entities.dart, and now the error went away. And I can simply save all of this, and that's very fine. So now I can, within, if I collapse everything so you understand, within packages, expense repository, lib, here we're gonna create the expense repository. So here we just say library expense underscore repository, okay? And now we're going to export a few files. So we're going to export source/entities/entities.dart. We're going to export source/models/models.dart. And you see the interest that we have by creating those files, because otherwise we'd have to import each and every one of the classes, the files, you know, that we are going to use. By having one file that export all of those for us, it really saves us time right here. Then export source expense repo.dart, and export the last one, source/Firebase expense repo. You can save that file, and that's all there is to that file. Then we're going to create the expense repo.dart. So now here it's going to be an abstract class. This is going to be an abstract class. So abstract class expense repo zitory. All right, and here is basically all of the methods that we will use in order to, create our backend, and they're all going to be here. The interest by having an abstract class is you're not going to instantiate those methods right here. You're going to instantiate those methods right there. Adds a layer of security and as well of clarity and all this. So I really recommend doing that as well, because now the Firebase expense repo, now we're going to create that one. Well, it implements, so class Firebase expense repo implements the expense repository. All right, just like that. And so the first method that we want to create is creating a category. So within our abstract class, we're going to create future. Do we need to return something? For now, I don't know, so I'm just going to say void create category. Okay, I don't think we'll have to return anything. And you see here in our Firebase expense repo, we have an error because it implements this class and we missed the implementation of it. So I'm just going to import it right there. Okay, and we're going to try to create that class. I forgot something here. It's going to take a category, okay, as a parameter. And here as well, category, then category. Fair enough. Okay, so now try catch. If there is a problem, I want to log the error inside my console. So I need to import developer, and I'm gonna rethrow the error so it can be catched within the block. The body, why not, yeah, because it's a future, so we need to say async right there. And so what are we going to try and do? First, I think we're going to create two instances of our future Firebase collections. So we are going to create not user collection, but category collection and expense collection. And so the reference within Firebase Firestore is going to be categories. We're going to call the collection categories, and we're going to call the other category expenses. And we need to import Cloud Firestore. Okay, so I'm just going to save that. Okay, and now we're going to create a category. We are implementing this method. So I'm going to call category collection. Okay, doc. Here it's going to be category.category ID dot set, and the data is going to be category dot to entity dot to document. And that's all there is to it. That's really all there is to it, because we have created our classes in such a way in order, and we need to put the await keyword right there, but that's all there is to it to create a category. All right, so now we can try and try to implement this method. Perhaps before we do that, we can create the get category. Okay, so future, here it's going to be a list of category. Okay, and it doesn't take anything as a parameter, and I can just copy that now and go into my expense repo.dart, the abstract class, and paste that right here. Okay, so get category here, then I'm going to say await category collection. Okay, and then, sorry, I had an error on my computer. Okay, so get category collection.doc, and here I don't need any parameters because I want to get all the categories. Okay, I'm removing the set, and here I'm going to say get. Okay, so that's going to get all of the documents, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say it's category collection.get. So here I have a list, value.docs.map. Okay, and then now I'm going to say category dot from entity, category entity dot from document, and that's the document is going to be what's passed from here, e dot data. And that's all there is to it. That's really all there is to it. And because we are waiting for a list, right? Here I'm going to say to list, and that's it. That's really just it. Up like that. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to say return right here. Okay, good. So we have our two methods, create category and get category. And you see now it's going to go faster now that we have the logic established. So inside our main perspect.yaml file, we are going to import our expense repository. Okay, so in order to do that, you're going to import it as a normal package. Import repository -- up, and I think it's path. Yeah, it's path column, and it's within packages / expense _ repository. Save that. Okay, saving that is doing a pub get. And now normally we should be able to play with that thing. Yes. Everything's fine. So within the lib folder, we are here, screen, add expense, view, add expense. So I'm going to clear everything. Okay. So here is our add expense screen. It's this one, right? So we want here two things. If we click on this field to display the list of categories that we have in Firebase, or create a new category right there and then be able to select it. But before we do all that, we need to create a Firebase project, right? So within your Firebase console right there, you're going to create a new project. It's going to be expense tracker. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna disable Firebase Analytics because I don't need it for this project for now. And I will get you back when that builds. All right, so that built. So now we have our Firebase project that's right there. So we're gonna initialize our app. So I'm using iOS. So depending on what you're using, iOS or Android, but I've set up already previously, I've shown you the step to set it up on your own. So feel free to go back to those videos if you don't understand what I am doing. But now I'm gonna open ios.runner.workspace, runner.exe workspace, just to have the bundle ID of this app. Normally it's gonna be com.example.expense tracker, but I just want to be sure. So it's here on my other screen. I'm sorry you can't see it. I can show you. Nice car, right? I agree. So yeah, com.example.expense tracker is right there. So I am going to take that, close that up, and put that thing within the app bundle ID right there. And I'm going to register that app. Okay. So while that's doing, okay, download the Google service. Okay, good. Next. You don't care about that. Continue to console. And so now what I want to do is put the file. So let me get the file. Okay. So that's going to be that. And I want to go within dev project. 1 second, guys. Expense tracker. Yep. Okay. So I can show you. Okay. Oops. So that's going to be in downloads. All right. So you have in the downloads the Google service that's right here. So I'm going to place it within iOS runner of our project, Google service. I'm just going to put it right there. All right, you can close that up. And to be sure, I want to reopen that and move it right here, because as you can see, it doesn't do it on its own. So I just will transfer it like this and say finish. Just like that, it's done. Okay. I can close that and we can continue our thing. Okay, so and for Android, it's basically the same that you will do, but you will configure within Android. Go to my channel and see how you do it on other videos. I'm not going to do it here. It's already a long video that we have right there. So I want Cloud Firestore. So I'm going to create a database. The location of the database is going to be Europe. Europe. Next. I'm going to set that up in test mode for now. And I'm going to create that thing. So while that's creating, we need to add a few things. And I'm thinking about a few things in our main.dart. So you need up, because for now it's really straightforward, but oh my God, I'm going to take those things and place them right here. So that's for ensuring the right initialization of the app. Then Firebase.initialize app and Bloc for the, because we're going to use Bloc for the logic. So here within our main prospect.yaml file, we'll need to import a few things. We'll need to import all of that, actually. Firebase core, Bloc, Flutter block, and equatable. So I'm going to save my prospect.yaml file. And now normally within my main.dart, I can import Firebase core. Good. I can import Flutter block. Perhaps I'm just going to import block. Oh, well, yeah, okay. And I need to make my main function asynchronous. And you can see here, simple block observer is not working. It's simply because we need to create this file. So within lib, I'm just going to paste that file, simple block observer, okay? And it's simply a file that will display in the console, in the transitioning of the different states, what's happening. It's just for us, for developing, to understand what's going on. And then I can just import a simple block observer right there. So I'm going to have to close my app and rebuild it again. And in the meantime, I'm going to collapse everything and display the add expenses.dart file that we have right here. So in this file, we will get categories, and we will also create categories. Okay. So now what we want to focus on is creating a category, and that's happening here within this alert dialog right there, right? So within this alert dialog, at the very end, we should have a button that we've created earlier. Yep. And that says right here, create category object and pop. Okay. So that's what we want to do here. So we're going to create the category object and then use a block to create that. So let's first create the block. So here under block, using the extension, the VS Code extension, I can just block new block. And I'm going to call that block create underscore category. And it created that block for me. I'm just going to rename that create category. And I can create the other block right now, which is going to be a new block, get underscore categories. Okay. And perhaps this block, this get categories block, I've created down here, but perhaps we will want to move it up later, because we are in our UI utilizing this get categories a little bit everywhere in our app. So you don't want it to be so deep down within the architecture if you're going to use it in several places. So perhaps I'm going to move later on this get categories block within this higher up blocks folder, which is for now empty. But we don't care about that now. Let's create the category block. So event, block, and state. So the event, with the extension, you see it creates all of the stuff that you need for the block. So I'm going to create a class that's going to say create category. And that's going to extend create category event, right? And that's going to take a final parameter that's going to be a category, okay? And that's it. I just need to create the constructor, and that's it. And if you want to be very specific, you can implement as well the props and make that thing constant. And that's it for the create category event. That's the only event that you will want. On the state part, you will want to create 3 states. You have the first state that would be create category failure, the second one loading, and the third one that could be success. And you can just save that. And since we're not returning anything from our create category methods in our backend, in our package repository, we don't need to have any class parameter for that thing. So now let's create the block then. So on create category, okay, here we're going to make that asynchronous. And before we do all that, we're going to need to have some some parameters for our block here. All right, so we're going to say final expense repository. So that's going to be expense repository. Yeah. And here we're going to say this.expense repository. Save that. And now we can implement our block. So we're going to do a try catch. If there is an error, it's going to be inside the catch. So I want to emit a create category failure state. Before the try, I want to emit a state of create category loading. All right. And within our try, if everything goes right, I want to emit a create category success. But for it to go right, we need to do something. And for that, I'm just going to say await expense repository dot create category, and it takes a category. You remember, we just created that method, and we can access that in the event parameter of our class. Just save that, and now category is defined in foundation.dart, which is bad. I want then to, we perhaps should have chosen another name then, my category or something like this, but we are not using foundation.dart package, so that should be fine. And just like that, our block is created, and as I said that, the app rebuilt, so that's pretty cool. Now we can implement that block within our app. So let's go back to add expenses.dart. So here, remember, we create category object and pop. So here we first need to create our category object. So category is equal to category dot category. Yeah, okay. We didn't create an empty method for our category. Let me check models category. Yes, we did. So why can't I just say dot empty? Ah, yeah, because he believes I'm talking about the foundation. Go away. Okay. That's a problem. We might need to rename our category here. I mean, once you have this problem, you can as well say, yeah, just like this, but you can rename the package itself, but for now that works. So category dot empty. Okay, so we have a few parameters for our category object, right? So we need an ID, a name. Okay, so first ID. Okay, so category dot ID is equal to, and now I want to use a cool package that's called it's called UUID. Okay, it's a very popular package, right? And that's basically to generate a unique ID. So that's what we're going to use now. So I'm going to import that in our main puspec.yaml file, UUID, save that thing to do a pub get. And in my add expenses.dart, I can call UUID dot, I'm going to import the package, dot v1, for example. Yeah, that's going to be okay. You have different types of algorithm to generate your ID. I'm just going to use v1 for now. That's going to be sufficient. So category.id is okay. Category.name is equal to, and did we create yeah, we didn't create our controllers for our for the creation of our category, so we're going to do that right now. See, here we have the controllers for our expense, but we don't have the controller for this, and we're going to create them right now. So I'm just going to take what we've created earlier as controllers, but now they're going to be under here, under the show dialog, create categories, right? So up, just going to paste that right there. So text editing controllers, so that's going to be that's going to be category name controller. The second one is going to be category icon controller, and the third one category color controller. Okay, and here in our first text form field, it's going to be category name controller. Our second is going to be category icon controller, and the third one, if I can find it, the third one here, it's gonna be category color controller. Save that up, And now we go down, down, down. Category.name is equal to category name controller.text. Okay. And then our icon and our colors, well, it's equal to those two things, right? I mean, we actually do not need those two controllers, okay? Because we have icon selected and category colors, which are the two things that we will use in our class. So category dot icon is equal to icon selected, yep. And category dot color is equal to category how is it called? Category color. Straightforward, category color. But here, yeah, the category color is a color, right? So that was my point earlier. If I say toString, we're gonna try like this. I have no clue what's gonna happen. So perhaps we're gonna need to save some other type of stuff. For now, let's do that and see how it behaves. But perhaps we'll need to do something else. So we have all of our fields initialized, and now we would say context.read, and that's gonna be create category block dot add create category. So that's the event, right? And we just give him the category that we just created, okay? And here, the navigation.pop, I'm gonna place it somewhere else, okay? I'm gonna place it somewhere else. But now if we just do that and press save, it's just not gonna work because we've never given the screen the provider, the block provider of type create category block, right? So we cannot just use that here, okay? What we need to do is feed our screen with our block provider of type category block, create category block. So because we're using show dialogues, that's a little bit different, the thing that we'll use right there. So I'm gonna just check one thing and be right back. All right, so let's try to do it like this. So since we have our stateful builder that's right there, what you might think is say, what right, so before I'm going to this screen, I want to feed the block provider. So that would be somewhere within our home views home screen.dart. That'd be here. We are redirecting to add expense, and we'd want to wrap that with a block provider of type create a category block, right? That's no constant at all. Category block and import Flutter block. And this takes a Firebase expense repo parameter. Save that up and you'd say, right, so if I feed I've created the block provider prior to my add expense screen, so that should work, right? Well, it's not going to work because we are using, as I said, the show the dialog. So perhaps here, if we try, we can try, huh? We say food, icon is gonna be this one, and the color is gonna be some sort of an orange right there. If I save that, okay, you see, it can't find the create category block because we've actually feed it, but it's not the same context because you were using show dialog block. So we need to do a little different maneuver in order to be able to still use this kind of UI. But for that, let me check my thing. Block provider.value we're gonna use, all right? So here we are going to give it, so first things first, that's gonna be, okay, so that's gonna be the context that we're gonna give it. So I don't know if we have to give it the same context, but perhaps here, up. But what's for sure is I need a block provider.value. So it would be somewhere on our second show dialog, right? Yes, so if I wrap that thing with a block provider dot value and say that the value is equal to context dot read create category block. So let's save that and let's see if with the name of the context we are okay. I would like to create a new category that I'm going to call food, this, and the color we said something like orange. Save that, save. And if I pop my console, create category success, see right there. So now if I navigate to our Cloudflare store, I refresh it, we have a new collection that's called categories, and under it we have a category ID, we have a color. So that's how it works. That's very cool. That's very cool, yes and no, because I mean that thing we can use in Flutter, but well, we'll see later. But icon is food, name is food, and the expense is 0 for now. The total expenses are 0. It's amazing. That works. So in order for us to have a UI that's reacting a little bit better, I want to wrap my, because we want now to be able to pop that screen, okay? Once that's done. So here, I'm going to wrap my alert dialog with block listener of type create category block. Sorry for the indentation mistakes. Let me just fix that. Okay. And now I want to say within my listener is say if the state is create category success, navigator dot pop context dot pop context 2. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And else, what we could do is have our button here. So yeah, our button that will be loading instead of yes, instead of being like save, right? So what we can do is, but I don't think I'm in the right place. I think I'm in the color picker stuff. Yes, I am. So let me. I know I am. Wait, I am lost. No, it's the color picker. This is the color picker. I'm gonna say save color right there. So it's not within our show dialog. Yeah, I've mixed up stuff. So I'm gonna take this logic and reapply it to not the second show dialog, but to the first show dialog, right? So not this one, but actually this one, right? So we're gonna do the same thing that we have right there, except, so we're gonna wrap with the block provider dot value. So up, stateful builder, wrap with widget, with block provider, sorry, no, not like this. Oh my God, it's confusing, sorry. I'm just gonna wrap with a widget, and this widget is gonna be a block provider dot value, and the value is going to be context dot read create category block. Okay, that's that. Now I will delete onto our second show dialog what I have done with the block provider. And now I'm going to take my block listener, and so I don't have to redo the listener, and I'm just going to delete that thing, remove. Okay, and now I'm going to move that block listener up, and wrap my stateful builder with a block listener of type create category block, exactly like we just done, and the listener is just that. Okay, just like that. Okay, So here I want to pop the context, so this context that I want to pop, okay? So let's just make sure everything works, huh? Because I've moved stuff around. Here, let's create a new category. Let's say pet. This one, and the color is gonna be, I don't know, blue. Save color, and then save. Yeah, that worked. Yeah, pet right there. Perfect. Sorry for the little confusion. So what I want to do here is say that I'm going to do boolean is loading, and I'm going to set that to false by default, okay, within our show dialog, okay. And here I'm going to scroll to the very bottom in our button here, size box, the last widget that we have, our text button, okay. And here I want to say if is loading, so is loading is true, I want to do something. I want to have a circular progress indicator. Otherwise, I want to display my button, okay? So I want to have a center child circular progress indicator like this. I didn't call that is loading. How did I call that thing? Called that thing is loading. So why is it not happy with me? I am at the wrong place. Yes, I am definitely at the wrong place. Sorry, my bad again. Up, it's not there because that's this button. It's this button right there, text button. It's this one. So up, it's this. So if it's loading, I want to have the center that dead code. Why is it dead code? It's not dead code. Why would this say this is dead code? I don't agree with you. Okay, whatever. Because is loading is equal to false. Okay, fair enough. Sometimes don't try to understand. You'll just break your head trying to understand. If it works, it works. that's the good philosophy there. And so we want to add something as well on the onPress. The first thing we want to do actually is set state and say is loading is equal to the reverse of is loading. Well, we can just straight up say true here to have more clarity. And then all of that to actually say, I don't know why I have indentation problems. Okay, that's fine. All of that to say that in our block listener here, else if state is create loading, set state is loading is equal to true. Okay, we're gonna do that here instead. Yeah, we're gonna do that here instead of within the button there down there. It's better, it's more clear. So we're just gonna do it here inside our block listener. And if it's a failure, well, you can print a message if you want, but I am not gonna do that. So let's have another category. Which type of category? Let me bring up the design again. So I have it right there. Shopping, for instance. All right, this one, shopping. Let's put, I don't know, this color. Save color, save. Well, that didn't work. That didn't work a bit, did it? Yes, that's normal because I've done that. My bad. But it definitely worked, huh? It's just the UI. Let's create another one. Let's call that this one up. Tech color, we're gonna say red. That's good. Well, it doesn't even give me the time to do it because it's so, I think it's so straightforward. Yeah, but it definitely works. It's just it's too fast for it to have any changes. So because here we have is loading, and if it's loading is equal to true, then we have the circular progress indicator button. Otherwise, we have the text button. Yeah, that works. That works okay. So okay, now we have categories, as you can see, within our database, and now we want to, when we click on that, the same logic as we have for the icon, we want to be able to display something under it in order for us to select the icon, right? So how are we going to do that? Perhaps I am going to create some files in order for us to have a clear view of what's happening right there, because it starts to be a little bit much, I believe. So we can put all of our show dialog that's right here. We can actually put that somewhere else in another file. So that's what I'm going to do. All of our show dialog that's right here. I'm going to take it. So that's the whole category creation, and I'm going to create under view a new file, category underscore creation dot dart, and I'm going to say because if I just paste that, future, so perhaps it's a methods that we need then. So get category creation up, return that. And you have a lot of red, but that's because we need to import a bunch of things. So instead of importing a bunch of things one by one, I'm just going to import everything that is under add expenses and remove what's not used. So that and that. And for that, I need a context. So here, build context, and I think that's that. The set state, it's not is not, because our block listener is after a stateful builder. So perhaps we want to switch that thing around. I want to import that as well. My categories icon. Yep, I need that. I need that where? There. Yeah, okay. And the last thing that I want to do, yes, is reversed. Can I move that up? Move up. I can't move that up. Okay, wrap that thing with a stateful builder. And I'm just gonna take that, put that here, remove that. And after that, I should have, no, not here. Should I replace that and have that? Yes, something like this, I guess. No, not something like this, because here it's return. Okay, good. All right, so now if I just call get category creation here, so I get all of that, so that's the stuff that we replaced. And I just say up, no, not that, up, get category creation, and I just pass it the context, save that up, perhaps rebuild that thing, up, Yeah, that works. That works good. So now we have our get category creation methods that's in a separate file, so we don't have such a huge file that we cannot read and understand, and we have like more of a separation. So yeah, everything is right there. That's pretty good. It's a little bit of a mess. Up, up, and tack. We'll need to move that. Woo, 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 woo. Where is the indentation error? Well, we don't care. Okay, I'll just save that. Can close that up. And see, now our file is way more understandable because it's way smaller, but we can delete all of the packages that were special for that thing, and let's start building up on that. All right, so now we have our get stuff right here. Okay, save that up. All right, now what I've said is do the same thing for getting the categories. So we're gonna use the same logic as right there. Okay, so under a text form field, we are gonna have it's here category, a container, same stuff, container, and I'm starting to be a bit hot in this place, so I'm gonna remove my hoodie soon. Height is gonna be the height of 200, width of media query of context.size.width, not that width. All right, and just for now we're just gonna have a color, colors.red, just to make sure everything works. Everything works. Amazing. So I think by default we're gonna have it extended, and I don't think, yeah, I think we're gonna have it extended. All right, you can use instrict height, I think it's called, the instrict height, something like this. Yeah, well, I will find the name. It's for you to for it to calculate the right height for the container for a list view that can expand over time in height, but we don't care. Let's make it simple. So the child of this thing is going to be a list view builder, list view dot builder. So list view dot builder, you know how it works now. So we have item builder, but we have item counts. So the item counts for now, we can just say 3, just for the sake of creating the UI, but later on it's going to be the number of documents that we have within Firebase. So that, right? So item builder, so I want to return a list style. Let's say list style, all right? And I just want to save that to see what's happening. Well, I zoomed in. Yeah, that's normal. Perhaps I want to wrap my list style within a card widget. Yep, okay, cool. I want to access the decoration parameter of my container, box decoration, set the colors to colors.white. So it's consistent. Yeah, you see, it's consistent. I am going to wrap my list view with some padding, just like that, amazing. And I'm gonna add some constant keywords everywhere. Okay, good. So you see we have some cards right there, it's scrollable. And what I want to do perhaps is having the borders, I mean the borders of these things, of, yeah, it's here, the borders of our text form fields to be the same, you know, just on the top. So here, border radius, I'm gonna say border radius dot vertical, and I'm gonna say vertical, and I'm gonna say top radius dot 12. Yeah, like this. We have only borders at the very top, and I can put border at the very bottom as well. Up. So now in my decoration container, I can access the border radius parameter, and instead of having to access the top parameter, I will access the bottom parameter. And see, I have some borders now at the very bottom. Okay, good. Perfect. So our list style is going to be very straightforward. We're going to have a leading that's going to be image.assets, and the assets name is going to be assets slash, for now, since it's not dynamic yet, I'm going to say food.png, but this is going to be dynamic, so that's very cool. And is not happy because this is no constant. All right, so if I save that, well, you are huge, so please scale down. That was too much scale down. Yeah, something like this, that's okay. Then the title, it's going to be a text, and this for now is going to be food, but we're going to make that dynamic. And the color, the tile color, so normally we can say something like this. Yeah, okay, cool. And we are accessing the shape as well. So rounded rectangle borders, border radius, and I'm gonna say circular.8. Okay, cool, perfect, amazing. So now we need to make that thing dynamic, right? So we need to not have only food, but the right stuff in the right place, okay? So we need to add within our home screen here, we have added the create category block, okay? But we also need to add the get category block, right? So I'm gonna wrap that thing with a multi-block provider actually, and it's gonna be get category block, okay? So now let's create our get category block, okay? So event block state, same thing really. Here, creating a class, get categories. That's gonna extend get category events, all right? Get categories doesn't take any parameter. The state is gonna be quite similar to what we had previously, right? So we have, sorry, up. Oh my God, I am starting to be tired. So we have, oh my God, failure, loading, and success. I hope you enjoyed those kind of video, guys, because it's really demanding for me. It's 2.5 hours already that I'm coding. So I really hope you enjoy that thing. So it's gonna be the parameter, a list of categories. A list of category that we'll call categories. Let's create the constructor now. Constructor get category success. This.categories, and if we want to be very cool, we are also gonna override that thing with the parameter that is categories. So now let's create the get category block. So asynchronous get categories, okay? Same as before, try catch, all right? So if there is an error, it's gonna be catch. So I wanna emit get category failure, okay? Before we try anything, emit get category loading, and if everything goes right, I want to emit get category success, and it's not going to be happy because we need a list of categories, but we are coming to that. Same as the other one, I want an expense repository parameter, and I'm going to add that to the constructor, save that thing. As you can see, I'm going faster, guys, but these things we've already done a million times, so by now you should know how to do that thing. And here I'm going to say await expense repository dot get category. So I would have said get categories, that would have been more accurate. And here I'm going to say list, because that's what it returns. of category of type categories is equal to that, and that's pretty much it. That's our get categories block done. So now within our home screen here, we have a block provider of type get categories here. So it takes as well a Firebase expense repository. But most importantly, I want to add a new event to this, which is get categories. Okay. And I need a double dot right there. I'm going to save that, rebuild my entire app. And now normally, if I say add expenses.dart here, within my list view here, I can wrap my list view within a block builder of type get category, right? So let's do that. List view, block builder, get category block, get category state. Okay. What's going on? It's not defined. So import Flutter block. Yes, okay. And now, if I say item count, so I say within the builder, if state is get category success, all right, I am going to return our list view, right? And I'm going to just say else return center child circular progress indicator. Save that thing. Okay. And now we can access the state to say categories.length. So normally we should have, how many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So normally we should have 4 cards right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's cool. That works. And now here, instead of having food.png, we're gonna say here this is equal to state.categories, access the right index, and say icon. Save that, and as you can see, we have the icons that are changing dynamically. Same for the text. Here, the text is not food, but it's state.category.name. All right, very good. And the tile color, let's say, let's see how we do that thing, because we have color, we have something like this. So perhaps we can see if we can trim. I don't know how we can do that. Let's see. Perhaps I just want the hexadecimal code for the color. Yeah, that's definitely something that I would prefer, right? So we're just going to change one thing. Here is in our way to save the color. So that's going to be within our category creation. Remember, I've just said toString here, category color.toString. But here, perhaps there is another method that we can use. Value, perhaps. Let me check it out. I'll be back. Okay, so let's try this. So you can access the color category.value. So I am with the category in the category creation here. So instead of saying toString, I'm going to call value, but this implies that we need to change our color parameter within our category class and set that to be an integer, because that's how it works, right? So categories.dart and categories entity.dark needs to be an integer as well. Okay, save that up, and then we can access the color doing that thing. So if I'm doing that, I'm saving that thing. I am going to delete the collection that we already have, because then the string and the integer is not going to work well. And let's see, create a new category, food, and the color for that is gonna be something like orange. Save the color, and I'm gonna save that. Okay, so I've popped one too many things. That's because of that. Okay, can save that. And let's see. Let's refresh our Firestore. So we have now a code for our color. Now in our add expanses here, normally we could say tile color, color, and just access this thing. Save that. That works. That's amazing. Perfect. Let's create another category, shopping. Icon, that's going to be the shopping bag, and the color, some purple. Save color, save. And see here, we're not refreshing anything. And I had this question already. How do you make your app refresh on its own, right? Well, it doesn't do that, except if we had the stream here instead of a future, it will refresh automatically, okay? But we're not using a stream, we are using a future, okay? And basically a stream is a feature from Firebase, but it's futures that are be called like very rapidly, right? But for us here, what we can do is actually say, here we have our category, we have it already, okay? The one that we've just created, okay? So what we can say is actually that this thing has a type of return that's category, right? Category, okay? And wait, yeah, no, we can't say just like this. Yeah, I know what we'll do is when we pop navigator.pop context, and here, let's try that. When we pop here, let's just pop with a parameter, and that's going to be our category. Well, just for now, let's say just test. Let's create a new category, name travel, icon, and that's going to be the plane. Yeah, that's here. So that should work. That should work. That should work. Up. I'm gonna put a future to that method. And what we want to do here is, instead of creating our object within the button, right here, we're gonna create that thing higher up. Up. Here, for instance. Okay. Save that up. Perhaps wrap that thing within a set state. I think you could get away without doing a set state here. But for the sake of it, we're just going to add one. Okay, save that. And now I want to pop. Where is it I'm popping? I don't want to pop test. I want to pop category. Okay. And here. Okay. And here I want to print test. Okay. See, if I refresh and I come back to the page, those things, they're here, right? But that makes sense because we get the thing from Firebase already. But here, what I want to do, then we will need to move the block builder higher up because we need to access the state, okay? So let's first make sure when we print something, it shows the category. So let's create a new category. Let's call that home. Let's get the home icon, and the color of that thing is going to be, I have no idea. yellow. Yeah, like this. Save. Instance of category. Perfect. So now in order for it to be able to be displayed within our list, we will need to move the block builder higher up, right? We'll need to move that higher up. So since an expense cannot be created without a category, you cannot unlabel that thing. So that makes also a lot of sense to wrap our entire body, even our entire widget, right, with the block builder. But let's just, for the sake of it, wrap our body with our block builder of type get category block, okay? And we're just going to get the same logic. If category success, okay? So that's the same. We're just moving it up. If category success, I want to return the padding, all of the things, okay? Else, for now, let's just do a circular progress indicator, just like this, okay? So let's clean up a little bit what we have. So up, I'm gonna indent the padding, like this, and I'm going to remove our block builder that's here, okay? I want straight up the list view builder. So that's gonna be just that, and all the rest of it can go away. Okay. Perfect. And we still have access to the state, right? Because it's here, it's higher up. And here, instead of printing our new category, okay, we can print that, but we can also call set state, okay? And we can say state.categories.add, okay? Or even better, insert index 0 element new category. And we have our, normally we'd see our new category created. So we have home, let's try it. So we will have, let's go with the icons, entertainment. And for that, we're gonna go something like greenish, yeah, okay. Let's save that. And it's right here, all right? Okay, so like this, you're utilizing every single step of the process, right? You keep track of everything and you know where everything is at, in what state it is and everything. So just like that, we have a list of categories. So now we want to be able to select one category, right? So, and for that, we need to create the perhaps the expense class, okay? So let me just look it up a little bit. Okay, guys, so let's create the expense class now. So in order to do that, let's close everything that we have right there and collapse everything. With it, expense repository, lib, source, models, and entities. Remember, we've created the expenses entity and the expenses.dart files. So now let's create the classes. So class expense. So what is going to be the class? So we're going to have a string that we'll call expense ID. We're going to have a category. There will be category. We are going to have date time. That's going to be the date. And we will have an integer that's going to be the amount. Okay, so that's for our expense class. Okay, so now let's create the constructor for this class, expense. Okay, tag, up, paste that right here, and add required this for all of those things, as well as a comma at the end. All right, so we have our constructor. So now we want to create, I mean, we're just going to base ourselves in what we've already created, right? The to entity and the from entity right there. So I'm just going to copy those methods and replace them. So it's not category entity, but expense entity everywhere. Okay. Okay, perfect. And so now we need to replace the parameter within those methods with the right ones. So we have ours right here. Okay. Don't worry, there is an error because we didn't create the expense entity yet. All right. Good, let's save that. And that's pretty much it for the expense class. Now let's do the same for the expense entity. So it's not expense, it's expense entity. Up right there. Okay, need to import models.dart. Okay, can save that. And so now, same as category entity, we have those two methods that we need to create, the toDocument and the fromDocument. Okay, but same here, it's not a category entity, but an expense entity. Okay, and now we are going to feed those things with our parameters. Okay. All right, that's for the toDocument. Now for the fromDocument. Okay, can save that. And you can see here, there is a mistake because we have here a category object as a parameter. And remember, I told you we cannot send objects directly to Firebase. So here it's category.toEntity.toDocument. Okay, and that's going to create a map that it's readable for Firebase, and that's the same from there. We are having a map, and here we are requiring an object of type category. Okay, so we need to change that as well. So it's going to be category.fromEntity, category entity, dot fromDocument, and the document is going to be doc category entity. Just like so. And like that, we're good. But as well, another stuff. Here, toDocument, the dead time is going to be fine. It's going to be transferred to some sort of a timestamp to Firebase, and you'll be able to, Firebase is going to be able to handle that. But it's going to return some sort of a timestamp, all right? And we cannot have a timestamp since we are dealing with dead time. Okay, so you need to parse it as a timestamp and then create use the toDate method in order to transform the timestamp into a dead time. And just like that, our expense entity and expense is done. Okay, so we can close those files, and now we perhaps need to create a method within those two files that is going to be not create category but create expense, and for now only that thing. So let's create the create expense based on that method. Create expense. So that's going to take an expense, not a category, right? And I'm going to create that method into the abstract class as well. Save that file. And now here, I am not accessing the category collection, but the expense collection. Expense collection dot document expense dot expense ID dot set expense dot toEntity dot toDocument. And here, I have no idea why the log, because math was imported where there is no need. So now we have our create expense. So this is going to create a new collection here, top level, that's going to be called expenses. All right. And we're setting a new document to it, which is our object right there. Okay. So that's what's happening when we want to click on save here. That's what we want to see. So now we can go back to our lib screens, home, view, not add expenses, view, add expenses. And so now what we want to do is to create here a field that's called expense expense. Perhaps we want an init statement. We want to add it into the init state. Well, I'm trying to create it, but it's already here. So expense is equal to, and let's just say late. All right. So expense is equal to expense.empty, and I remarked that we didn't create that method, so I want to create it. Expense repository models expenses. We can base ourselves onto this one to create it. It's expenses.dart up. So same, static final empty. This one is not a category, it's an expense. All right, those, our parameter for this class are those ones. So, okay. So the expense ID, if it's empty, it's just an empty string. The category, it's category.empty, okay. The date, we can say that it's datetime.now, and the amount is 0. All right, save that up. And in our add expenses.dart .empty. Okay, so now we can set, we have expense controller, okay, so that would be for our expense. So now I just want to have the right category right there. When we click on it, I want to have it set up there, all right? So it's here. Get category, okay. It's here. Where is our card? Right there. I think there is an ontap parameter on the list tile. Ontap, yes, there is. So if I save that, now we can tap on the things. Yes, okay. So now what I want to say is set state expense dot category is equal to state.categories, the right index, and just save that up, okay? So that's gonna set our parameter, and I want to visualize it by putting it right there, right? So what I want to do is also say that since we have a text field, right? Yes, the category controller. So then the category controller, so the category controller.text is going to be equal to then state.categories, or just expense.category, now that it's set to the right thing, to name. For now, let's just see that. Yes, okay, sorry. Okay, right there. Yeah, okay, cool. And perhaps we want to have as well the the icon right there, right? So how could we do that? So here we have our prefix icon that's right there, okay? So here we can say what? We can say if expense.category is equal to category.empty, then we want to have our constant icon that's right there, okay? But if it's not, we want to have our little image, right? That we have already coded right here. Up. And instead of having to call the state, we just call category. See how that works? Amazing, right? And perhaps to finalize it all, you want to have the color of the background of this thing that is the right thing. And so it's the same stuff. On our field color here, we're gonna say if the expense.category is equal to category.empty, of course, then we want colors.white. Otherwise, what we want is color, but here it will be expense.category.color. Amazing, right? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay. Very nice. Last thing, we want to set the date. So if there is a new date controller, all that, but I want to say expense.date is equal to new date. Okay. And here perhaps we can get rid of the selected date, right? Because we have, yes, we can for sure get rid of that. Up, because we have it inside our, yes, our object itself. So that's what we're going to do here. It's expense.date. Just save that. That will save us the trouble. Okay. So now, and the amount, I don't think I've modified that one, expense controller. Yeah, but that will be on the save button. Okay. So now on the save button that is at the very bottom, this one right there. Okay. What I want to do is say that the expense dot amount is equal to expense controller dot text dot to int. No, that doesn't work. So perhaps int dot parse, and we're gonna say that. Okay. Fair enough. Let's do a set state on that. Okay, and then we want to call the block that will create the expense itself, right? And we didn't create that block yet, so we need to create it now. So let's create a new block, create expense, okay, create underscore expense block, and let's create that block. So create expense block, so event block state, and we are gonna create a class that's gonna be create expense, that's gonna extend create expense event. All right, and that takes as a parameter an expense. Same stuff as creating a category, guys, really exactly the same. Create expense, this dot expense, can have a constant keyword, and because we're good boys, we are going to implement as well the props. Save that up, create the state, same stuff. Now you know how it works. So we have failure, create expense failure, loading, success. All right, and now let's create the block itself. First things first, gonna make that thing asynchronous. All right, gonna say as well that I need an expense repository parameter. Gonna call that into the constructor to initialize it. Same stuff here, try catch. If something happens, I wanna emit create expense failure. Before anything tries, I wanna emit create expense loading. And if everything goes right, I wanna emit create expense success. Okay. But in order for it to have anything to say, I want to await expense repository dot create expense. That's going to require an expense that is accessible within our event block. And I'm going to save that. Perfect. So that's all there is to it for this block. So now I can close that, and that. And I need in our home screen, yes, add another block provider, okay, to our add expense. Okay, we have one provider for the create category block, get category block, but I also need create expense block. Okay, just gonna save that up, rebuild my app. Oops, sorry. Rebuild my app. Okay, and now in the button under the set state, I can say context.read, create expense block dot add create expense, and I'm just gonna give him the expense. Okay, pretty cool. And the same way we change the button while this is loading, we are going to do the same thing right here. So we are going to have a boolean here is loading, All right, that we're first going to set to false, and we're going to wrap everything with a block listener, okay, of type create expense block, create expense state. And here we're going to say if the state is create expense success, well, we are going to do navigator dot pop context, else if state is create expense loading, set state is loading is equal to true. Okay, and for now we're just going to leave it at that. We can say else and display a message, an error message as well, but for now that's it. And our button then is going to be it's going to be, oh my god, I'm sorry for the indentation and stuff. I hate it. I think it's the package that does that all the time when I'm adding a block listener or something. It really breaks my mind every time. Anyway, at the very bottom here, as we've done previously, yep, text button. So if is loading is equal to true, then we will have a circular progress indicator, and otherwise we are going to have our text button. That's just like this. Perhaps wrap that within a center and add some constant. All right, let's try it, shall we? Let's try it. So let's rebuild the app and try this thing out. So let's create an expense. So we are going to say 100 in entertainment, the 31st. Okay. Create instance failure. So a document path must be a non-empty string. So we have an error inside our Firebase expense repo. That's fine. Create category. Oh, yeah, of course, we didn't set the expense ID to be something. So we shall do that, shall we? We did add expense. Within the init state, we can say expense dot expense ID is equal to UUID dot v1, and we can just do exactly something like that, and that will be all right. Save that thing, rebuild the app, and now we have an actual ID in order to create the document, right? So let's try again. 100 category entertainment for the 31st. Say okay. Yeah, success. And now if we look at our database, we have a new collection that's called expenses with the amount of 100, the category in which that thing was added, and the date, and the expense ID itself, which is the same of the document. One thing that you can see that we didn't actually implemented was this total expense stuff. And for that, we might need to do something a little bit different. And this field is only for that place, right? Because you want to see all of your categories with the amount of, or we don't really need that field, do we? Yeah, no, I mean, definitely it's something that you can keep track of, but we're not going to implement it here. It's already 3 hours of videos. We're just going to focus on making all this thing dynamic now, but otherwise, yeah, otherwise it's pretty cool. Why is that? It was not reload once you pop it. Yeah. So that thing is not, so the, perhaps we need to do that, set state. No, it's weird. because we need, if you rebuild that thing, then here it's clear. Okay. Okay, well, I mean, it's details for now. So what we can do now is create perhaps another expense, make sure that works, 20 euros, category home for for today. Save that expense and we pop, and that's pretty cool. And now here we want to display a list of all of the different expenses, right? That's what we want to do, okay? So we need two things: create a get expenses block and create the method in the backend that will get all of those things, right? So let's start with this. Let me just push that away. So create expenses. So now we're going to base ourselves onto the get category method. So get expenses. I'm within the Firebase expense repo, the Dart file. Get expenses. So it's not a list of category, but a list of expense. And here it's expense collection dot get, and instead of category, it's expense. Up, and here instead of category entity, it's expense entity. And I'm going to take that one and copy it into the expense, the abstract class expense repo, so we can access it within our lib. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for that. And we need to create the block now. So yeah, so we are going to create the block inside the, it's home, so it's here. So create new block, get underscore expenses, home blocks, new block, get underscore expenses. Same stuff, guys. Here class, that's going to be get expenses. Okay, that's going to extend get expenses event, and I don't need any parameter for it. The state of that class is going to be either failure, loading, or success. All right, so failure, loading, success. And if it's success, I'm going to have a final list of expenses that I'm going to call expenses, and gonna create the constructor for it, this dot expenses, and implement as well the props, and add a constant keyword. So that's for the event, that's for the state. Now for the block, same stuff. We need an expense repository parameter, expense repository, that will add to the constructor of that thing, and onto the block, get expenses, asynchronous, try catch. If there is an error, we are going to emit get expenses failure. Before we try anything, emit get expenses loading, and if everything goes right, emit get expenses success. And it takes a list of expenses, but for it to have the list of expenses, we're going to create a list of expenses is equal to await expense repository dot get expenses. All right, save that up. Block is done. So now inside our, I'm going to collapse everything up, lib, screens, home, views, main screen. Here, remember we have it's here, row expenses. It's down, transaction, transaction view all, and that's here. Expanded, it's this list view builder, right? So this list view builder, we will need to we'll need to wrap everything within the block builder right there. Okay, but before we do that, home screen, and then the home screen is directing us to the main screen or to the stat screen, and I need to wrap my main screen with a block provider of type get expenses block that takes a Firebase expense repo, and I want to add the get expenses event. All right, and I can save that file, and now within my main screen I can wrap basically from the beginning, to be completely honest with you. I mean, I really want to do it. The thing is, here we have our home screen, and it's within our home screen that we are accessing that thing, you know, here. And once we add a new expense, okay, I would love to do the same thing as we did previously, update in real time what's happening there, right? But for us, in order to do that, since we have our block provider that's right there, okay, we'll have a problem, because we'll need actually our block provider to be here, but like here above the scaffold, right, in order for it to make sense some sort of way. I don't understand why it does that. Terrible. Okay, well, anyway, let me think about that for 1 second. Yes, so what I want to do, I believe, is wrap here within my appview.dart my home screen with the block provider, actually, with the get expenses block, right? The one that we've just created. And add the get expense event, okay? So within my home screen, at the very bottom, I can remove what I've just done, because we already fed it, okay? So now what we have is we have here already access to this block builder. So the thing that we can do is simply wrap our scaffold with a block builder of type get expense block, get expense state, and say if the state is get expense success, I want to return this scaffold, right? The one that we have like here. Yes. Okay. Let me just manage this indentation stuff, because then I don't know where I am, right? Else, can simply return a scaffold that has as a body parameter a center with a circular progress indicator. Okay. Save that up. See how it works now? It's gonna have up the circular progress indicator, and then comes back to the screen, right? And what we can do here then is fed the main screen. So within the body parameter of the scaffold, right? So it's fed the main screen with state.expenses, right? And add that to our main screen widget right here. Say that we have final list. It's not going to be final, is it? I don't think so. Perhaps we'll have to create a stateful widget. Expenses. Add that to the constructor of this thing, all right? And save that up. Okay. And now within our main screen, if we scroll down, we have a list view builder somewhere. Yes, here. And we want to say that it's not that was the mockup from the first episode, but it's going to be expenses.length. Save that. And that's cool. That works. We have two expenses in our database, and they're shown here. And now we can make that dynamic, right? So expenses here, the decoration. So the decoration that we have is here transaction data color. Here it's more expense I dot category dot color. Yeah, color up. Yeah, that's the one that we have. Cool. Then the transaction data icon. What is that for? That's the icon itself, right? It's a stack, so we can just say here image.assets, and here we have assets slash dat dot png, and we can comment that. Cool. Scale that down a little bit, and perhaps color dot white. Yes. Okay. Cool. Very nice, huh? I hope you're hyped, because I am. Then the name is, yeah, the name is here. So that's all the name of the categories, huh? Name, entertainment, home, makes sense. And then transaction here, the text is going to be not category this time, but here amount from our expense dot toString. Okay, so we can customize it a little bit in terms of the way that we display that. I think we've already done the work somewhere. Yeah. Did we? John Doe. Tac, tac, tac. I think we've already done that. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Okay. So, yeah, so that's not category, that's amount. So what we can do is simply do something like this. My fingers are not working anymore. So let's say up. Let's escape that one. Okay, cool. That works. Amazing. Cool. And then the date, we can simply say date format dot, I need to import inil dot format dot date. Perfect. It's here. Yeah, of course, obviously. So here, remember, we want to say perhaps a day slash a month slash year. Okay, that looks amazing, don't you think? And so now the last thing that we could do is say that the total balance, the total balance here, you can put that in, do a user class, and you have the total balance already there. But in terms of expenses, we can calculate that, which is the sum of all of the things that we have here, right? So our here expenses, it's not 800, but it's, yeah, you would need to do a loop. You need to do a loop in order to make it dynamic, but you see my point right there. The last thing that I want to do is, if we have another expense of, let's say, for example, for food, that's for for the 2nd of February, save that. You see, it's not updating right here, right? That's because we are creating that stuff from add expenses right there after the navigator.push, right? And here, how we could do that is, before add expenses here, when we pop here, we can pop with the expense. Okay, that would, because if we just refresh, it would get that thing, right? It would get that thing. But what we can do is pop the expense, okay, and right here say asynchronous await, and we can say a var new expense, okay, and we can say here, if new expense is different than null. Wrong place. No, right place. Why is it not happy with me again? Yeah, that was for sure. Let me check that up. All right, just figure it out. It's because here the material page root has a return type of void, so you can just make expense. That could be null. Let's just try like this. And then under the push, you say if new expense is different than null, then you set state and you add the new expense to the state itself. So let's see if that works. I have my doubts, huh? Let's say 331 for travel. That's gonna be for today, okay? Save that. Oh, yeah, that works. Amazing. Amazing. And perhaps what you want to do instead of add is say insert, right? And insert that to the higher, the higher number inside the list right there. And just like that, guys, you have a fully functional, and you see in our database, we have all of the stuff that are right here. You have a fully functional expense tracker app. So then if you want to interact with the graph and do all of sorts of different things, I mean, please feel free to get that code and to make it your own and to create new stuff. Really, I mean, that would be amazing. So you've seen a lot of different stuff today. I hope you liked it. It's been a long video again. It's a lot for me to produce all of those kind of videos. So please don't forget to leave a like, to subscribe to the channel, to talk to this channel around you and help me grow this channel. It's been a pleasure to share with you today this formation for free on YouTube. And I will see you next time. Bye bye, guys.